Welcome to the Georgia-Florida Baseball Show. This show is viewed on the Georgia Showcase Baseball YouTube channel and brought to you by Georgia Showcase Baseball and its owner, Coach Ben House. Ben, how we doing?
Doing good, Kevin. How are you?
I'm good, man. I am good. I'm good because I'm Kevin Perkins. I'm your host, and I'm good because I get to talk catching with a catcher. Johnny Estrada. Johnny, how you doing?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, man, thank you. Johnny is currently the coach at the Heritage School in Noonan, Georgia. He also runs a 13U team. He is a former Atlanta Brave, Philly, Diamondback, Brewer. You were an all-star with the Braves. You were a Silver Slugger Award winner with the Braves. You still do some work with the Braves organization. Do you want to talk about all that?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
We're going to talk about all that. We're going to talk about player development, catcher development. We're going to try to tie that in with he has been a part of often on what I believe is the best run organization of the last 30 years in the Atlanta Braves. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how stops like that can influence the way you go about running your organizations and working with other people. Being a catcher, how it affects your ability to work with other people. Or in Ben's case, I believe I can tell if a guy was a pitcher when he was coming up by the way he handles certain things, by the way his confidence is. I believe I can tell a catcher when I bump into him, by the way he goes about things and does things. And we want to talk about all that and more. Sound good, guys?
Yes, sir.
We'll talk about all that and more after this.
This is the Georgia-Florida Baseball Show, brought to you by Coach Ben House with Kevin Perkins from Surrounded by Sports.
Welcome back, and thank you to our sponsors, Arden's Garden, Atlanta's source for smoothies, juices, and plant-based foods, and of course, to Showcase Apparel, the fit for your team, which is owned by that gentleman, Coach Ben House. Now, Ben, you and Johnny are friends. Why did we decide we need to talk on the show?
Yeah, good friends. Yeah, so it's always good when you have a pro guy on the show, but it's even better, man, when you got a guy on the show that knows about development, with the youth, with kids playing travel ball, and Johnny brings a wealth of experience, man, to the travel ball game. With the development piece, man, playing in the big leagues for 8+ years, and now giving his time back to these kids, man, it's very important. I think it's important that the parents and kids hear what he has to say on the show today, man. And I think it's a value to what we're doing today.
I do too. Now, Johnny, you're a Cali guy.
Yep.
Yeah. You told me you started out a little league, but I think we're going to kind of fast forward to some moments in time that were pivotal in your development as a young player. At your last year little league, you said basically you got moved behind the plate because there was two guys that could pitch good, and they were the coordinated enough guys to pitch and catch each other. Yep. Is that right?
Yeah. So last year there we had two good arms. But we didn't have a lot of catchers. We had one catcher. Mm-hmm. So my dad, started to move me back there because I guess the team needed it. And I think he saw way back then that I wasn't going to be the biggest, fastest kid. So it might be a good position.
But you had played some shortstop, I believe, before that.
Yep.
So you had worked on lateral movement a little bit, and you had been in scenarios where you release the ball from different angles like a shortstop does, which also winds up being handy as a catcher.
Yep.
And you told me earlier too, since we're talking about this, you believe that a little league ball club, a travel ball club, you need to have more than one catcher to prevent a kid from being burned out.
Absolutely, especially now that the amount of games these kids are playing in a season doesn't even compare to what we were used to. And I see it happen a lot. I see teams that have one good catcher and he ends up catching all the time and he's tired and, never really gets to play another position. So I think you got to have two kids that can catch and a third guy that can catch. to have a good team.
Right, and it's kind of hard to get guys to go back there, right?
Yeah, kids don't want to catch anymore. I think some coaches beat them up at a young age, but like I said, I think some of them get burned out at a young age. Also catching all weekend for some of these tournaments.
100%. Now, Ben, you run a facility with younger players. How many guys do
Yeah.
you have that catch?
Well, I right now I'm coaching a 9U team, and I have 4 catchers,
Yep.
and I make sure all of them catch during the tournament. So, and it's kind of weird because, you know, all 4 of my catchers, they have unique things that they can do well. You know, some can, one can frame really well, one can block really well, one has a great arm. You know, some, you know how to, set up on the plate. So, and they're 9 years old.
Right.
So if you put all that together and you make all of them have the same qualities, the same traits, they can bring the same strength to the team. You're going to have a pretty good team. So I think it's important that you teach kids at a young age all those qualities, man, and also, and it's more about having fun for the kids, man, putting the gear on and going out there, trying to call a game. They think they're trying to call a game, you know what I'm saying, and throwing kids out, so you got to make it fun for them, man. But at the same time, you don't want to burn them out. You don't want to take a kid from behind the plate that's caught a whole game, but then put him back on the mound, and have him catch. I mean, have him, pitch. So you got to make it. You got to make it fun, but you have to make it make sense as well.
Right. Right. Now, Johnny, you told me that around 13, was it your dad that told you to turn around and hit left-handed?
Yeah, my dad made me start switch hitting at 13.
Yeah, but
I didn't have I wanted to, but there was times that it was hard. I didn't want to so much, and he's the one that made me stick with it.
Right. Well, that's okay. Well, we've had episodes where we talk about father involvement. Now, your father was coaching you. Your father figures out that he's putting you behind the plate. Your father said you're hitting the ball well right-handed, and yet your father says, "Hey, you need to turn around," which is going to put you at a huge disadvantage because there aren't that many, like you said to me earlier in our private conversation, there aren't that many lefties out there at 12, 13-year-old.
Yeah.
So you're at a huge disadvantage at the plate for about 3 years before it really gets figured out and you stick with it. Your dad being invested in you helped long-term huge, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, from 13 to 15, I wasn't very good. Made a lot of outs, and any one of them, games, if it was up to me, I probably would have quit. But he didn't let me. He made me stick with it. I'd say I finally started to figure it out probably around 16 years old. But I didn't really become a good hitter until junior college, and then the rest is history. But yeah, man, my dad, if you ask him, he'd tell you, "Oh yeah, I was getting you ready for the major leagues," and like a lot of crazy dads are.
Right. Right, but at least he was there, invested in you, and
yes,
and he had a vision for how you could be a better ball player, and you guys together stuck with it.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it was huge having him as my coach.
Right, absolutely. Now you go from Theodore Roosevelt High School in Fresno, California, to College of the Sequoias, and that's when you start to really get it. You've told me, and I know that both your sons, I think, play junior college ball, Jamie and your son, and Jamie being Ben's son. And you said if you want to get into it, you want to learn baseball, junior college is baseball every day. That was the quote you gave me. You'll talk about that a minute and how that developed you?
Yeah, I was always a good player in high school, and then in travel ball later, and like 16, 17. But I didn't know how to work. I didn't know how to get in shape. I didn't know how to eat. I didn't know anything. But my coach at College of Sequoias, Jody Allen, he was played at Fresno State. He was just one of the greatest coaches I ever had, and he really got me ready for pro ball. Taught us how to work, how to get our bodies in shape, how to stay in shape, and just pounded fundamentals into us every day. and you don't get that at 4-year schools. So I'm a big fan of JUCO.
Right. Well, to your point, you moved up 50 rounds.
Yeah.
You went from the 71st round in the draft out of high school to the 17th. That's a huge jump. Now, when it comes to junior college, Ben, you were happy that Jamie went that route, correct?
Yeah, I was happy that he made a decision to go JUCO, man. For one, he was going to be able to play as soon as he got there, and then he had to learn that work ethic. Every day, man. In junior college is a grind. It's an everyday grind. So those kids are there for a purpose and for a reason, and he's starting to understand what his value is. He's starting to learn what his assets are to get to that next level, man, and just the grind that he has every day. I could just tell when he came home for the winter that he was locked in, man, and he has a purpose for what he's doing now.
Right. I'm sorry, Johnny. I don't know your son's name.
LJ. He's Johnny Estrada the fourth, but we call him LJ, Little Johnny.
Okay. Well, you feel the same way about his experience in junior college. It seems like too when you go to junior college, there's still a carrot out there for you to chase, right? If you get to a big time SEC school or whatever, or that's where you're going to be.
Yeah.
If you go, go ahead.
You get the reps, man, right away. Just like Ben said, it's baseball every day. You find out if you love it. And for the most part, you're usually not too far away from home, depending on where you go. And the money thing, it's just a lot more cost effective. A lot of families can't afford the tuition or don't want to send their kids too far away from home. So I think JUCO is just a great route to find out if you really love the game and it's something you want to do.
Right. Now, you do sign out of junior college and you go with the Phillies organization, and then they trade you to the Braves as the Braves are losing Lopez, right?
Yeah.
And you grew up watching the guy play.
Yeah. I grew up watching the Braves on the Superstation. They were the only game on a lot of times.
Right. And you're going to replace this great player, a lot of pressure there, but you were more ready to prove you could do it.
Yeah, at that time I was ready to be out of the minor leagues, man. I felt like I paid my dues down there and I was ready for my opportunity, and worked extra hard that off season to make sure I was ready coming into spring training, and Bobby Cox gave me the chance and I took advantage of the opportunity.
Now, you were working with, I want to say, if my memory's correct, Maddox was still on that staff.
Mm-hmm.
And Hampton was on that staff.
Yeah.
And those are two guys that were really, Maddox is, shoot, I got his autographed ball right there. You know what I mean? He's one of the greatest to ever do it, and cerebral. And was that like calling games 101, catching him?
It was pretty easy. I got to catch him. I don't know how many times, but I caught plenty of bullpens, and a lot of people don't know Maddox called his own games.
Right.
It was like simple signs that only the catcher and him knew.
Right. I saw a video on that. It's on YouTube, y'all. If you're watching, you can look that up, about how he would tell the catcher what was coming next almost immediately. Pretty neat stuff. Now, you win you go to an all-star game. That had to be incredible. You win a Silver Slugger award. That, first of all, congratulations on both those things. And then you do wind up getting traded and you go to other schools, but because this is we're kind of an Atlanta-based show, I'd like to kind of delve into the Braves organization. Why do you think it's so incredibly successful?
Sorry, got to turn the channel.
Yeah, you're good.
They're just the class act from top to bottom. No other team is like them. I played for 5 teams, and just nobody does it like the Braves. They stay engaged with their alumni and the community. So it's just great.
Right. Well, and what an interesting thing to me too is, you play for the Braves, but then you do live in Arizona, you live in Milwaukee, you've lived in Philadelphia, but you go back, you've lived in California, but you go back to Georgia to live. You go back to the Atlanta area to live, and you're not alone. A lot of ex-Braves go to that area. Atlanta's just a great kind of place to be, right?
Yeah, yeah. Just like a lot of people live here.
One of the reasons why the Braves are where they are as well, because they don't have to travel far. Atlanta's a hotbed for
Right.
talent, and the Braves are known for drafting guys out of Atlanta, out of the Georgia area. So yeah,
Right. Well,
it's a great thing.
right, right. And you had mentioned to me that like Sherholtz and Cox, they were interested in who you were. They stayed invested in the players one on one, but also the Braves as an organization, even to this day, they bring back legends. You're going to be working the 44 Classic. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, yeah, I do that. Coach the Braves RBI program. Right now, we're doing the fall development training. Gone to the RBI World Series the last 2 years. And then the 44 Classic, we take 44 of the best kids in the area, and they get to play at Truist Park.
Right, 44 being Hank Aaron's number.
Yep.
Mike Harris was found to Ben's point about them being able to find kids in town. Mike Harris was found at that event, according to the GM there. And what was the Native American
Showcase? That's another event.
You worked at as well with the Braves at Truist Park as well.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and that event's grown every year. We had a really good bunch of kids this year.
I think I saw 50 kids were at that event. Event. And also, what a great thing, Ben, if you're 16, 15 years old and you get to go take ground balls, run the bases, hit a little BP on the Braves home field.
Oh man, that's an experience for itself. I know Jamie made that Hank Aaron 44 event, man, but I think he broke his wrist.
Yeah.
Or something was going on with him that year. He couldn't play in it, man. So he was disappointed, and not getting a chance to play at Truist Park, man. But yeah, it's a special event, man, for kids. At that age, man, being able to go on going to Truist Park, man, and being able to go out there and run around like Mike Harris and some of those big league guys, man, and being on the same field and in the same dugout. That's an experience. That's a lifelong experience.
Ben, absolutely. This is silly, but okay, I went to a Metallica show that was at that ballpark, and I'm on the floor, right, which means I'm on the field, and I get there early in the day just so I can walk around on the field and kind of see what it's like standing in the outfield and looking at the building, because it's cool to be on a big league field from ground level and see how majestic everything really is.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've gone to some coaching clinics that Johnny had down there with the RBI, and I'm the same way, man. You walk on the field and get a chance to be on the grass, be on the dirt, with some of these these future Hall of Famers played on, and you're looking around. It's like, man, this is cool.
100%.
It's cool. It's a cool experience. I don't care who you are.
It looks fake. Like the grass looks fake and the dirt is all perfect.
Yeah.
It's like you're walking around in a dream.
Right.
Perfect.
Right.
Everything's perfect. Everything's wonderful. Hey, okay, so you're the head coach at Heritage High in Noonan, Georgia. Yep. And how did some of the experiences in a well-run organization help you as a head coach?
I just try to make it all about the players, man. It's about the kids. It's about me teaching them fundamentals of baseball and life. I share a lot of life experiences with them, and just love on them. Push them hard, but not too hard. I think kids play a lot of games now, and they're a lot better at younger ages than I think some of us were. But the wrong coaches can drive them away from the game. I see it happen all the time. And I just never want to be one of those coaches. I just, just like Bobby and Leo did, it was always about the players, and they stuck up for their players. And, even when the players were wrong, they would still have the players back. I took something from every manager that I played for. I played for 5 managers in the major league. So, being a coach now, I used to think that was bad, but it helped me be a better coach. I wouldn't be the coach I am today if I didn't play for all those guys.
Right. Now, transition. You also run a 13U team.
Mm-hmm.
Does a little bit of, is there like a seesaw kind of effect where as you're doing the 13U, it's more about the child's development and making sure they're happy about playing? Then
you gotta know when to dial it up and when to dial it down.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing that I've improved on in the last few years as a coach is just knowing your audience, being able to coach, 10 to 12-year-olds a certain way and be able to dial it up for a 17-year-old. And that's what I've gotten better at, having my own high school program, working with different ages. And then, me and my coach have brought this group up, Sox baseball, and they're a pretty good 13U major team now. So hopefully in a couple years they'll blossom and they'll be ready to contribute.
Right. Now, Ben, this sound familiar? A 9-year-old and a 12-year-old are different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in some ways, yes. In some ways, no. With me, man, I try to learn these kids' personalities. At a young age, 8, 9 years old, you gotta know their personalities. My practices are kind of tough. I get on them in practice. I make them cry, I make them laugh, I make them smile, I make them do everything, man, in practice. So that way, I kind of know, how I can coach them in the game. You know what I'm saying? So, that kid that, gets down on himself and in practice when I'm on him, I can't do that in the game. I gotta blow encouragement in them. Those kids I know I can kind of push a little bit. You know what I mean? I know in tough situations in games, I can go to that kid and he's gonna respond. So that's kind of way I kind of know my kids' personalities. I kind of know who I can kind of push a little bit, who I got to kind of, hug a little bit more. So that's kind of how I gauge my kids. It's just knowing each one of their personalities, so that I can gauge them, during the game, because there's gonna come a time in the game, 1-run game, you're behind and whatever. So you got to know which kid that you can kind of poke a little bit, or who you got to give a little pat on the butt.
Right. Hey, let's take a break and we'll come back. Okay. We're good. Welcome back. Thank you to our sponsors, Arden's Garden, Atlanta's source for smoothies, juices, and plant-based foods, and to Showcase Apparel, the fit for your team. Now, as we wrap here, I think it's interesting how what you do influences who you are, even if you don't become a pro baseball player at all, right? It'd be cool if everybody got to be a pro baseball player. Everybody doesn't get to be a pro baseball player. But you can learn things as a catcher that help you be good in the workplace, that help you be a good father. You can learn things as a pitcher. As Ben, when I listen to Ben talk about how to evaluate the guys around him, how to learn what buttons to push. I know Ben because I played against Ben when I was younger. I know he was a leader. I know he had to go to people. He was a quarterback too. I know he had to go to people and build them up. I know he had to challenge people in certain situations. Those are things that influence you as you grow up. All right, Johnny, talk a little bit about what it takes to be a catcher and how that can transition into either, because they always say catchers make great managers, like point guards make great coaches. Why is it catchers make great managers?
I think catchers make the best managers because they're always in the game. They're used to, being in the game on every pitch. I think personally, you got to know your job and you got to know everybody else's job. So catcher sees the whole field. They work hand in hand with the pitching coach and the manager on big league teams. And it's just, it's not the tools of ignorance. You got to be a little smart to play catcher.
Right. That's people sleep on centers on football teams and how smart they have to be, right? Because it's a kid, you're making the calls for the line. Even at the high school level or little league level, when you're catching, you have to have a rapport with your pitcher. You have to know what he's confident in. You have to be able to figure out, oh, he's insecure right here for some reason. He's nervous. I got to go talk to him. I got to settle him down. He had a rough first inning. Between innings, I'm going to go sit by him, and or he's mad right now. I'm going to let him steam. I'm going to let him blow off the steam, and I'll talk to him in a second. And you got to be able to do that with 4 or 5 different guys. Or in your case, 4 or 5 starters, 4 or 5 guys out of the pen, a closer, and not to mention that, but you also have to know, hey, the right fielder's, he needs to be leaning that way. This guy's fastball's hot today. You know what I mean? Or he can run it on the hands today. The shortstop needs to be here. Those kind of things. It allows you to see the sport as a whole in a different way than other people, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
The catching position is, you miss out on a lot being a catcher. Sometimes you're left out of BP because you're working extra with the pitchers or infielders, and it's not a glamorous job, but to me, it's the best position on the field.
Well, that's true. Like, I remember, and obviously it was funny. Ben said, you guys, I said, this is going to be a fun interview. And he said, yeah, you guys are catchers. And I'm like, well, what I did and what Johnny Estrada did are 2 different things. But the similarity is, baseball practice for a catcher is, you throw, you catch infield a little bit while they're throwing the ball around. You work on that stuff. Then you go over there and you catch pitchers, and then you block balls, and then you catch pitchers, and then you block balls, and then you throw to second. It's not, I'm standing out here waiting for them to hit me a fly ball.
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
you don't have to wait for any action. It's coming.
Right. And it's there's a physicality to it too. You have to kind of, if you've never spent a practice blocking balls, you do not understand what it's like to tell your buddy, make that, we got to go harder here. That it's a weird thing to ask somebody to throw it in there and hit you in the chest hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
or what? Do you ever do the drill where throw the ball up in the air and hit it with a bat at you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one stinks.
Yeah, plays at the plate.
Yeah. Being a pitcher, being in control of what you throw, making decisions on what the next out's going to bring, that influences the way you go about the rest of your life too, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I always tell my guys, man, that baseball pitchers, you should be more mentally tired, after the game, just from thinking so much, as well as physically. You should be, more mentally tired, because it's every pitch you got to think about, what pitch you're going to throw next, how guys leaning, or if guys, got a quick hands, those type of things, you got to kind of see as well as the catcher. Right. So it's man, baseball is such a mental game, man. Right. And if you're not mentally drained after a game, then you haven't played a complete game. Right. Pitching. Right. So yeah.
You have to know too.
But and then if you got a good catcher that you guys are working with, and you don't have to think so much, but you're still engaged with them. Right. And it's it's like you're one. It's like a heartbeat type thing.
100%. Yeah. The coolest thing in the world is to go through an inning and you don't have to shake me off.
Right. And that's being in sync.
Right.
That's being in sync.
Right.
With each other. Yeah.
Right, Johnny? The coolest thing in the world is to go through an inning and the pitcher didn't shake you off one time.
Oh, yeah. That's
you guys were simpatico. We had it.
Yes. No shaking, stepping off. Yeah, the pitch clock wouldn't have worked in my day.
No, man. No, not at all. Not at all.
Let's wrap on that, guys. Thank y'all so much. Johnny, I appreciate you. I hope you're willing to come back sometime.
Yeah, I got to get my computer fixed, man. I'll have a better viewing session and a better background. I like Ben's.
Yeah. Work on it. Thank you so much, folks. Appreciate you watching. Like, subscribe, comment. Check us out next time. Johnny, have a good time at the 44 Classic.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you.
All right, thanks, Johnny.